voice, whether it be a demon or an angel, cannot be heard except in your thoughts. This is why the battle is always in the mind. You get thoughts in your mind as darts are being shot from the arrows of the enemy. And so but you never, have you ever heard an audible voice just come to speak to you and the devil say, I am the devil and I'm going to get you? No, but you hear a thought in your mind, right? You hear the thought. So in other words, when it comes to a spirit having a voice, whether it's a demon, an angel, God, or the Holy Spirit, he speaks in the thoughts. He speaks in the mind. The Holy Spirit speaks out of the spirit, but the battle is in the mind. Number two, the voice of the spirit world. I'm going somewhere. The voice of the spirit world can be heard in a dream or a vision. This is the reason why angels would always appear in visions. They would always appear in dreams. The reason they didn't appear to people all the time, it like to scare them to death. Some of these guys, when an angel showed up, would fall right out right there. God said, one of these boys is going to have a heart attack one day. We'll have to raise him from the dead. So let's just start coming in a vision. I hear people say all the time, I just want to see an angel. I don't. I want to feel them. I want them with me. I want them protecting me. But I saw one time, and anyway, I just want to tell you, it's the most frightening thing. I don't want to see demons either. I've seen them. They're ugly. There's a fearful presence when they come. It's a terrible feeling that follows them. Anyway, let's go back to this. The voice of a spirit can only be heard if the ears of a person are open. In other words, I had somebody one time, I heard a voice one time that I knew was an angel of the Lord warning me and waking me up when I was about to hit a bridge and nobody was in the vehicle. So in other words, your spiritual ears have to be open. Your spiritual eyes have to be open in order to hear a voice or see in the spirit world. Job 4:12 through 13 from the King James translation says it this way. It's a very interesting verse. Job 4:12 through 13. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a little thereof, in thoughts from the visions of the night when deep sleep falleth on men. Fear came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Listen to this. Then a spirit stood before my face, and the hair of my flesh stood up. I stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Now notice what he says. In the vision of the night, when deep sleep came upon him, that's when his ears are open and a spirit passes before his face. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, unless your eyes and ears are open to to the spirit realm, you will never see or hear a spirit being speak unless you hear it in a vision, a dream, or in the thought life. Now, let me go a step further in this and show you something. Did you notice that in the Garden of Eden, Satan did not appear as Satan? The answer is he couldn't appear as Satan. He was a fallen angel. It never tells you that Satan appeared in the garden. It said a serpent appeared in the garden. Come on, talk to me, son. Did Satan motivate it? Yes. Was he behind it? Yes. The serpent spoke? Yes. But listen to me very carefully. Satan understood one thing from the very beginning of time. If he could find a body, he could get authority. If he could find a body, he could have a voice. He couldn't come as Satan because Adam would have known who he was. He would have known he had no business being in the garden. But he used something that was already in existence, something that already had a voice. Josephus, read it in Josephus, the Jewish historian's writings. He says that the animal creation used to be able to communicate with man before the fall. Isn't it strange? Dogs can bark and know what they're saying to each other. Cats can meow and know what they're saying to each other. Birds can chirp and know what they're saying to each other, but you can't do anything with them unless you teach them certain commands that they hear over and over again. Is anybody hearing what I'm saying? I'm trying to say the devil knew that if he didn't find a body, he wouldn't have a voice. He knew that if he didn't find a body, he would not have authority in the earth. Come on, Brother Perry, and preach right here. And that's the reason why Satan in the Bible was always after a physical body to possess. He tries to control. The serpent causes Eve to sin. Then if you know the story of giants, if you've never heard me teach on the mystery of giants and the origin of evil spirits, taking the Hebrew and the Old Testament scriptures, taking the writings of the early fathers, and showing you how fallen angels came into the daughters of men and produced an offspring of giants on the earth. What was the devil looking for? Talk to me, somebody. He was looking for a body, and he found him a race of giants somewhere between 8 foot to 13 feet tall. They even think in ancient Samaria there was one that may have been 18 feet tall. I know that's hard to believe, of these supernatural creatures that were part God, part human, and that's where the Greek mythology corrupted the entire story. Even the early fathers tell you that the Greeks corrupted the story of the giants and made their own gods out of them, but they actually existed. This was Satan. Let me tell you what it really was. It was the seed of the serpent. In Genesis 3:15, God predicted that there would come a seed of the serpent, and that seed of the serpent was that crossbreed that took place. Why do you think living in the last days there's so much talk about aliens? Because it's a counter to the giants, that the fallen sons of God and the daughters of men that produced the offspring of giants. Now you got these alleged aliens coming out from somewhere in outer space, speaking to people, and they're even in some circles saying there's going to be a mass disappearance shortly. And I don't know what you think about it, but Pastor, I have this little sneaky suspicion that there's so many people in the New Age movement and so many people into the aliens and UFOs that if Jesus comes back, all they're going to say is a spaceship showed up and caught everybody out of here. So don't be upset. It was just a purging of the earth. That's what they're teaching. They're preparing people for a cleansing of the earth and a purging of the earth. I've read their articles that's going to take place shortly. So if you get up one morning and a bunch of people have disappeared, the purging is taking place. No, the judgment's about to come if a bunch of people disappear. So if you wake up one morning and a bunch of folks have disappeared, you're in deep trouble. Number 3, think about men like Hitler. Think about Hitler that stared at that spear in Austria. And when he stared at that spear that was supposed to have been the spear that pierced the side of Jesus, how he says a beast came up behind that showcase and he gave his soul to the spirit of the beast. You cannot explain how a man like Hitler can come to power and control the masses with his speaking ability. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you a story that I was told many years ago, that one of the reasons that Germany was so hesitant to let evangelists come and evangelize Germany was the fact that Hitler had such a way of speaking that he could control the masses with his words. People would pass out, they would faint, they would scream, and they would holler. They'd pack out these big stadiums when Hitler would stand up and speak. And so when Hitler was killed, they didn't want preachers coming in to be able to do that, because they saw the power of a person that could smooth their words and say certain words to control the masses. That there was a great, great danger of somebody becoming a dictator if the masses would follow them. And so this is what they understood, because Hitler had a spirit that came on him. It was a demon, evil spirit that nobody saw it. You better hear what I'm saying. Nobody saw it when he was elected, but it came on him several years after he was elected. He turned on the German people, killed 6 million of them in what would later be called the Holocaust. My point is, Satan had to have a what? Talk to me, somebody. He had to have a body. What does he get when he can find a body? He gets a voice and he gets authority. Because if it's a body of a world leader like Hitler, then Hitler makes decisions with his military to go to war. Hitler makes decisions to kill Jewish people in the ovens of Auschwitz and other nations, other places. So in other words, what I'm saying is this: you've got to understand the reason Satan wants to possess people through demonic power, because a demon floating in the atmosphere does not have the authority that it has when it possesses a person. I come across people years ago that were in the occult, and they'd say, oh, we can do weird stuff. We can make stuff float. I said, watch this. Ooh, ooh. They said, what are you doing? I said, making stuff float. I said, what's the big deal with the devil moving a table? I can kick a table over. What's the big deal with some demon making water shoot in the air? I can throw water in the air. I said, because they can manifest, that's no big deal. Oh, y'all hear what I'm saying right now? And I used to have them come to me and say that kind of thing. But see, a spirit outside of a body can move an object. A spirit outside of a body can create maybe an accident or the circumstances for it. But listen to me. Where a spirit gets its... I know what I'm preaching here. When a spirit gets its authority, it gets its authority once it gets into a body. Then it can make decisions. It can point a gun at somebody. It can take a knife and put it in somebody's gut. It can sell drugs and kill your kids. It can sit at a a bar and bring alcohol that'll get somebody killed in an accident. Is anybody hearing me right now? Come on, shout yes. Well. So for 4,000 years the devil knew. I've got me giants, I found me a snake, and I've got me Canaanites and Amorites and these tribes attacking God's people.